If you're tired of failing at relationships or tired of feeling like you're making your relationships a prison, or every time you get in a relationship, it becomes a prison for you, then it's really beneficial if you could understand what is a healthy relationship versus an unhealthy relationship. I'm going to give you 5 areas to look at to help you more easily determine when something is healthy versus unhealthy. Hi, my name is Olivia. Excuse me. I'm passionate about helping you understand what relational trauma is so that you can overcome it, heal from it, and move on with your life. So today is all about how can you understand or know if something is healthy and if it's not healthy. Sometimes it's not very clear. I mean, we might say things like, oh, when you respect someone, well, what exactly does that look like? Or, the absence of abuse, what exactly does that look like? So here's a simple way to break a relationship down to determine if it's going to be healthy or not healthy. So the first thing is you always want to check for the presence or the absence of safety. Is it safe for you? And I'm going to give you 5 areas that you can learn to measure and look for safety in. And if you can't find safety or there's something in there that's making it unsafe, it doesn't mean the entire relationship is not going to work, but it means, oh, this is what we need to look at, talk about, and work on for us to be able to continue and move forward in this relationship. And if these things are not looked at, if they're not worked on, then we just don't continue because then it's not going to be safe. Okay, so here's the first one. And by the way, all of this comes from my book, How to Stop Chasing Rejection and Heal Codependent Traits. You can find it on Amazon. I will put the link in the description. So here is the first dimension, and you can find this on page 43. So on page 43, the first dimension or the first area you want to look at within a relationship to see if it's safe is physical. So if there is physical safety in a relationship, you will feel you have 100% say over who touches you, when they touch you, and how much touch is received. If there is unwanted touch and you feel powerless to make it stop, that is not safe for you. So some things like tickling can be a bit more tricky, a bit more confusing. Some people can use tickling as an excuse to gain dominance and to show power. And it's not fun, right? And sometimes tickling is playful. So it's kind of like, well, is tickling bad? Is it not bad? So use that same rule, right? If I feel helpless or powerless to make it stop, it's unsafe and it's not okay. But if there's tickling, I'm like, okay, you got to stop. Like I'm about to pee my pants or I'm laughing too hard, I can't breathe. Like you just stop and someone stops. And I feel full control over if they stop or if they start again. If I'm allowing them to start and they want to, then that's okay. I would say that was safe. So just remember, if you don't feel like you have full say over it stopping, then it's not safe for you and that's a problem. And that's not a problem that you experience and then think like, oh, that was weird. And then just wait for it to happen again and have another weird and it keep happening. And you keep trying to find new ways to fight it physically. That should not occur within a relationship. It could be a conversation like, hey, I asked you to stop and you didn't. And I'm not going to have that in my life. I won't have someone touching me when I'm clearly saying stop and you don't. So that cannot happen again. So that's what the conversation would sound like. If you're in a relationship and you don't feel safe enough to even have that type of a conversation, then I would say seek help because that's not okay. Those types of conversations need to be had if that's something that's happening to you. Okay, so here's the second domain or the second area you want to look at. This is financial. We know that a large amount of domestic violence cases involve some sort of financial abuse, which would say it was financially unsafe, financially unhealthy, which would make it unhealthy, especially if it didn't stop. So anytime there is not equality in finances or equity in finances, then that is not okay. So this is where one person has full control and power over all the money. One person is making all the decisions of where the money is spent, where vacations are taken, if the kids get to have shoes or not, if someone's allowed to work or not, if someone has to work or not. So it's really just one person making all of those decisions and you're feeling helpless or powerless to be able to say where your money goes or even to access your own money. There's instances where, someone has access to the bank account and the other person doesn't even have a debit card. Or maybe we have a shared account and I have a shared account with you, but then you also have the right to have your own bank account and, in addition to that, but I'm not allowed to. So that would be an inequality, and that would be not safe, not fair, not healthy. So anytime there's not financial safety, there's not equality, there's not equity, then it's not financially safe. So equity would be different inequality. Here, let me give you an example. So if we were just looking at equality, and let's say I make $20,000 a year and you make $100,000 a year, and you say, okay, well, we each get 10% of what we make as spending money. So that's equal because it's 10%. But if you're looking at equity, it's 10% is not the same thing. We are not starting and stopping at the same places. I'm still responsible to pay bills, and you're getting to spend a lot more money every single month than I am. You have access to more money every month than I do, even though we're both getting 10%. So equity is not always equality. So it needs to be, like that level of fairness and that level of trust and the level of openness with the finances and the level of access. So that's the second domain. So the third one we're going to talk about is the mental area or the mental domain. So in mental healthy, if it's mentally healthy in this relationship for you, that means you have clarity. That means you can ask lots of questions and the other person is more than willing to sit down and talk to you. So let's say that I'm like, are we in a relationship or are we not in a relationship? Are you committed? Or are you not committed? And the other person is like, I can't talk about this right now. Yeah, that's something I just can't answer right now. Yeah, I'm not sure. And they're very vague. They won't give you a yes or no. There is no clarity. That's not okay. That is not a clear, yes or no. There is no clarity. That would be mentally unsafe for you. So if it's like super early on, then that may be something that you need to dial back and be patient and let things kind of grow and develop, naturally. But I would say if you're reaching like the 6-month mark, 3 to 6 months, or a year mark, and you're still getting that answer, that's not healthy for you, because there's a good chance you're being manipulated, you're being played, you're being used. That would just be not healthy, not okay. If it is clear, it's a clear yes, it's a clear no, you're allowed to ask questions. So when it's healthy mentally, there is clarity, you can ask lots of questions, it's no problem. When it is not mentally healthy for you, there's a lot of vagueness, there's a lot of confusion. Also, there could be like a double back talking, where you're just like, wait, but I thought you said this, and you feel like you're losing your mind because that person is manipulating you. Or you're not allowed to ask questions. Maybe they get mad at you for asking questions. That is not mentally healthy for you. It's your relationship too. You have the exact same rights to ask questions, just like they have a right to ask questions. So if you're in a relationship where you cannot clarify, you can't get clarity, you can't ask questions, then you don't have a relationship. So that would be the healthy domain. Okay, so the next one would be spiritual. So number 4 would be spiritually. So if you're in a relationship and spiritually you are having a healthy relationship, there is mutual respect for what it is that you believe. So you're allowed to express your beliefs, you're allowed to have your beliefs, you're allowed to talk about your beliefs. It doesn't mean someone's going to agree with you. It doesn't mean that they might not have almost like a limit to what they're willing to talk about, which is their right as well. But they still respect the fact that that's where you're coming from and that's what you believe. If it is spiritually unhealthy, you're not going to be allowed to have your own beliefs. You're not going to be allowed to express what it is you believe. You're not allowed to basically like keep your beliefs. So that would be spiritually unhealthy for you. So being mindful of that, it's like, okay, if I basically can't be my own person and decide what it is that I believe, practice what it is that I believe, and decide, for myself what it is I believe without having some sort of ramification against me, then it's not spiritually safe, and that would make the relationship unhealthy for you. So again, understanding these different areas and being able to talk about these areas, that is really, and have some resolution, that's what's going to make it stronger and more healthy. It's when these areas are not healthy, we can't have any type of relief, we can't find any way to talk about it and move to an understanding, then it's just not going to be healthy. Okay, so emotional. So the last domain is emotional. In this area, when you have emotional safety, you're allowed and free to express emotion, to have emotion, whatever that emotion looks like. But if you are punished for emotion, if you are mocked for emotion, if you're ridiculed for emotion, then that is making it emotionally unsafe for you. So it's really important to understand, okay, so I have a right to my own emotion. If you can't handle my emotion, I can go emote somewhere else, but you don't have a right to tell me to change my emotion or to do anything to me because I have emotion. I'm my own person. I'm allowed to have emotion. So again, really quick, going through all of those areas, you have the physical area, you have your financial area, your spiritual area, the mental area, and your emotional area. So hopefully that helps you to just really simply break down. These are the 5 areas. This is where I'm measuring for safety. Now I know what safety looks like in each area. Also, an example of what safety would not be in those areas. I'm also mindful, this is what I go to work on if I find there is not safety. And if it can be resolved, wonderful. If it cannot, and I'm not allowed to talk about it, I'm not allowed to work to some new understanding with you, then the relationship is not healthy for me, and I'm going to have to move on with my life and get yourself support to do that. So again, you can find all of this and more. I will leave links to support as well in the description, as well as a link to the book. Take good care, and I'll see you in the next one.